All right, I am super excited to bring you this lesson. This lesson came from two of my Patreon students, Stefan and Barry, and if you like this lesson, please thank them in the comments below. The questions that both of these students had was, okay, when I know pentatonics, and if I know diatonics and arpeggios, like, when do we use them? When I use this one, it sounds this way. When I use this one, it sounds like this. Like, how do we make this sound like music? And those three things I consider the Holy Trinity of guitar, which are the arpeggios, pentatonics, and diatonics. And the idea behind this lesson is to show you that when you learn when to play those in music, you become such a stronger musician, and you become a better, internal musician, and you become confident. And I want to show you how it's done, especially when you're jamming and improvising. All right, so let's get started. I have an E backing track that I'm just going to play really quickly. Very simple. It's an E chord. Okay, we're going to do this so simply. It's like amazing. Okay, so here's the back track. E. Just an E chord. All right. Now, for this example, we're going to talk about the Holy Trinity. Now let's talk about the arpeggios. The arpeggios are the notes of that chord. We're going to do this today in this shaped chord. If you're not familiar with what I'm talking about, but you're intrigued, check out my K Primer playlist. Okay, this is a G-shaped E chord. All right, you can play it thick or thin like this. The graphics coming up on the screen. And inside of this chord shape right here, we have the E major arpeggio. Really? All right, now these guys here are the notes inside of the chord, E, G sharp, and B. Yes, we have different, octaves of them, but these are the notes. So that's our arpeggio. The E major pentatonic, which is what we're going to use the solo over this. Again, we're going to keep it real simple. The practice sessions, which are going to be awesome in Patreon, are going to be going over different modes and all the stuff that you probably will have questions with, but this will answer a ton. Here we go. So, all right, we have the E arpeggio. We have the E major pentatonic. Graphic is coming up on the screen. Same exact place. You can see that 3 out of 5 of these notes are those chord tones, those arpeggios. The last ingredient is a diatonic scale. Because we're playing an E major chord and an E major chord only, I'm just going to choose the E major diatonic scale. This is the do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do of E. You can start it, it's in the same position, you can start it right on the 12th fret. All right, there it is. You can hear the do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. Now, you're probably like, well, can we choose a different diatonic scale? And the answer, of course, is yes, but that's not what this lesson is about. We're learning about when and why we want to use arpeggios, diatonics, and pentatonics. And I said that out of order, but it's okay. So let's talk really quickly. Here are 3 ingredients. That is the Holy Trinity of music and guitar right there. When do we mix and match? Why would we use one versus the other? Let me show you. Okay, so arpeggios. Arpeggios have 2 purposes. The first one being to bond with the music with absolute certainty. Now, this is what we're talking about. That's the when and why. If we want to bond with the music with absolute certainty, we can play the arpeggio of the chord. You want to play it, of course, in rhythm with the backing track, and we don't want to play too much of it, all right? So when we want to bond with the music, if we're just starting off a jam, if you're just improvising, then we can play the arpeggio, and that's going to help instantly give us confidence as the player and the listener confidence. Here is an example. Playing that very gently, and you heard that it bounds with the music quite well, but I also threw in the second reason we use arpeggios, and that is to move with confidence. If we're playing and we are, in a jam, in a groove, and we have that urge to move towards something, to move towards a new rhythm of soloing or a new portion of soloing, you can use the arpeggio with some direction and rhythm. And that that instantly brings the listener and you along. So if right now I'm going to show you, if we just have an arpeggio, right? And I'm going to show you bonding and I'm going to show you the moving. Now, this is the art of it right here. These are the two reasons we use the arpeggios. And so you want to practice just like I'm doing right now with just bonding and moving. Check it out. Bonding. All right, moving. Now, that was just examples of me doing those two things. Now, how do we do that? Very simple. You know, bonding with music is just playing those chord tones or arpeggios. Moving is about maybe developing motifs. You know, but just keeping the motion flowing. Picture a piano player playing up and down. All right. Now, hopefully that makes sense, all right? We're just going to move very quickly into Pentatonicville. Pentatonics are the absolute best soloing machine on guitar in music, and there's a reason for it. 3 out of the 5 notes are chord tones. Those other notes create movement. Now, when you have 3 out of 5, automatically we have more chord tones than we do movement, and it's what makes the pentatonic so great and balanced, because we can play the pentatonic and we automatically are with the music and we have movement, and it's those non-chord tones. Now in this case you have the intervals 1, 2, 3, 5, and 6. Those are the intervals. You know, the arpeggio is the 1, 3, and 5, and here we have the 2 and 1, 2, 3, 5, 6 with the 2 and the 6, and those 2s and 6s create movement. Now, if you're interested in major pentatonic soloing, check out this video. I'm going to be referencing a ton of videos on my channel. So if I'm wetting your whistle and you're like, oh my gosh, this is so cool, but I would need to know this stuff, videos will be popping up here and they'll be linked below. Now, when I'm playing pentatonically, I know that when I'm playing it, I'm with the music, and I know the why I'm playing it is because it offers some movement and also bonding with the music. So now I'm going to play with E major pentatonic. I do know where my root notes are. I do know where those non-chord tones are. They're the ones that, they're the 2s and the 6s, all right? And so you study this stuff. This is why you study the pentatonics. Now, I'm going to play, and I'm just going to focus on ending phrases on chord tones and using those other notes to move. Check it out. This is what it sounds like. Still has that arpeggio chord tone bite because they're in there. It has a lot of movement, and as a guitar player, we play the pentatonic when we want to have a conversation, but we want it to make sense. So now, before we go any further, I'm going to play pentatonics, and this lesson is really about listening to the voice inside of you, that craving you have for what you want to do in the moment of your soloing. So here I'm going to play a solo with just pentatonics for bonding, and arpeggios for bonding and or moving. All right, so listen for this. And the more you develop the sense of practice, the more you'll be able to do this any place and any time on guitar with any type of music. We're just using an E chord, but you can do this on any chord progression. So check it out. See if you can spot all the stuff I'm talking about. It was a mixture of pentatonics and arpeggios / chord tones. And I decided when to do them based on what I was feeling. If I felt like I wanted to jam with music, great. I'm playing with the Pentatonics, focusing on the chord tones. If I really wanted to have like a really big bonding moment with the music, well, I played arpeggios. If I felt like a moment was coming where I wanted to like get a crescendo a little bit, I used the arpeggio with some motifs and some rhythm to get us there. All right, let's talk about diatonics. Diatonics are the full scales associated with a key, okay? So we're in the key of E pretty much. We have the E major diatonic scale. Graphics coming up on the screen. It's in the exact same place as where we were. The full scale. Oh, really? I don't know why you guys watch my videos. All right, so now, when do we use diatonics? 2 reasons. All right, we use it for actually no, it's actually 1 reason really. It's for pure movement. When we put in the diatonic scale, it's moving. If you think of Jerry Garcia's playing, Jerry Garcia has a lot of movement. He's very heavy on the diatonics when he wants to give you the feeling of moving. And so here, when you're playing diatonics, here there's so much movement in there. There's only 2 extra notes versus the pentatonic. The diatonic is 7 notes, pentatonic is 5. But when we want music to move and have it be sure to sound good, we're going to use the pathway of a diatonic scale. Now, do you want to come straight up a diatonic? You'll learn. You might go to do it and be like, "Ooh, that sounded so obvious. I can hear the do, re, mi." You might have to create some motifs. Where you're kind of jumping around back and forth, but this is what you practice, all right? So now, I'm just going to actually play a solo for you of pure diatonics. You're going to hear it sounds busy. It sounds almost like rambling because I'm going to just do it without anything else, just the diatonic scale, but just listen for the effect. Here, it's just like it goes, right? So now, listen for my solo. Listen for the Holy Trinity of guitar: arpeggios, pentatonics, and diatonics, and when we use them. So here's a solo. We're just jamming, right, on an E chord, trying to have the best conversation you can on an E chord, which is hard. The more chords you have in a progression, the easier it gets. And we'll be doing all this stuff on Patreon. We're gonna have a lot of practice sessions, and I'm really excited about this. All right, so clean, simple, arpeggios, arpeggios, pentatonics, diatonics. Here we go. Simple. I used pentatonics, I used chord tones, I used diatonics. When and why is the reason behind this lesson, and the reason on how you can become and feel like a better musician, because everything we just did is a safe play. Okay, we can do this for minor, we can do this for modes. This video is just to show you when. So if you want to do this in minor, pick an E minor chord, right? Jam with the E minor. We'll be doing this on Patreon. And use the E minor pentatonic, use the E minor arpeggios, use the E minor scale, and the same thing. Think about when and why we use these. Arpeggios to bond, arpeggio motifs to move, pentatonics to be secure in our steps and really just have fun because it's 3/5 chord tones, diatonic movement to create movement towards another root note. It's that simple. I'm going to end here, all right? I'm just going to end it here. I want to keep it simple. If you're interested in this and you trust this, join me on Patreon. We're going to have so much fun. We're going to do it major, minor, and different modes and practicing getting your intent out on guitar. Thank you so much for being here. Leave a comment. Let me know if this works for you, and we'll talk soon. All right, bye-bye.